Right, morning. Welcome everybody. Monday morning.
Hello.
Bright and sunny here in Johannesburg. I'm not sure what it's like in the UK yet, but probably not bright and sunny.
It's dark. The sun's not up yet.
There you go. You're heading off into winter. We're heading off into summer. So, Lee, I think we're talking about insights and lessons learned. So maybe you'd like to kick us off on that one.
Thanks, everyone. So nice to see you all. Hope you had a good weekend. Yeah, we had an amazing event on Thursday, the Heritage Day here in South Africa, and we brought the insights and wisdom of 10 speakers. I say we, the royal we. I attended. It was Ivan and Trevor and Jasper did this amazing work. 10 speakers from around the world, from New Zealand, Australia, UK, South Africa, really some incredible thinking and insights. And I just thought it would be worthwhile just to pull out for ourselves. Even if you didn't attend, maybe you can comment on what you're hearing we are saying. So basically what we're doing is just sieving what we heard and learnt on Thursday through our own thinking and experience and sharing that this morning. So there were a couple of things that I would like to just highlight for myself. And the one was Michael Jackson talking about the difference between conscious competence and unconscious competence, where unconscious competence is basically us on automatic. And there's no doubt for me that COVID times created an opportunity for me to become more consciously competent. Just because I had to learn more, I had to think differently, had to shift and change some of the things I was doing. And so it was good to think about that as an opportunity to move out of the hamster wheel, doing the same thing over and over, and therefore the opportunity that it creates. And I connect that with Kobeshini's talk at the end, towards the end of the day, where what struck me from what she was saying in terms of energy is, and because that now, having gone on this learning curve, having done so much of the work and over a long period of time with no break, I certainly find that I'm tired. And so this idea of energy and needing energy, it was important, but that one of the steps to do that is to stop and reflect. So that was also a good link for me, just to say, okay, I've been on this journey, I've experienced so much, I've learned so much, I've stepped into this conscious competence. What actually have I learned? I feel like I need a moment to consolidate and then to take the next steps. And to therefore go to the next level of conscious competence, gone so far, and now what's next? But the what next has to have this bridging moment of saying, okay, where have you come from? And that also links for me to Doyle's talk about the expedition. And what struck me about his talk was the triangle at the top of Everest is yes, you plan the trip up to the top, but the goal is not just to get to the top of Everest, it's to come back. And that doesn't mean a sinking down. It just means that there is an ongoing process of the ups and downs, and that you have to look at the complete flow. And that brought me to planning, is that you can't set out on an expedition without having a good idea of where you're going, what you're wanting to achieve, and how you're going to get there, who you're going to take with, what it is going to take. So these were some questions that came up for me. And then to end off with, if you're going to plan, you need to know what you're heading for. What is it? What is it, the reward? What is the goal? What is the dream? And that's where Ed's talk came in for me. And I think for all of us, well, certainly for me, that cold beer, and as I say, I'm not a beer drinker, but the picture that you painted, Ed, was so vivid. The taste, the touch, the senses, and as you said, vision needs to be sensory. And again, just the thinking and the, coming back to what do you want, and what does it taste like? What does it feel like to achieve that end? And so that's wrapping up, I think, really the highlights that I took from Thursday. So thank you to everybody. So I'd love to hear what stood out for you. What were your highlights? What were some of the thoughts that have come to your mind from Thursday?
Great, thanks, Lee. And I think you've got all of us looking for a cold beer, even if it's just ginger beer. I see Donovan is looking for a Stony. So once again, yeah, excellent. Thanks so much for that. So I think we've got to go across to Jasper next. So Jasper, over to you.
All right, I'll be brief this morning, like Lee. I concur with her on Michael Jackson, and I concur with her on Doyle. And I like call it the easy explanations Doyle had, and his ability to manage both the helicopter view and still drill down. So I enjoyed that. I concur with that session of Ed, and I'm glad we pre-recorded the session because he had some very good input there. And he was probably the only speaker that stuck to the original intent with a short introduction and then time for asking questions and things afterwards. So well done there, Ed. And also, like Trevor, and I don't know what Trevor got excited about your talk, but I want to say that you certainly have a gift for words and your ability to paint a word picture. So specifically that the description of your beer, I think that's stuck in people's mind. Yes, and then the other speakers that stood out for me was then, and I know we have a huge difference of opinion here, but I like the approach of Rule of Botha. And then the other one was Patrick Owana, and specifically in Patrick's talk, I like what he did with the word of economy and make it and described it as the economy of the household, and then unpacked the economy of the household. And I think that's a very good analogy for us to take forward in our, in what we do going forward. Yeah, so the other speakers were good, but those were the ones that specifically for me had some unique thing that I could hang on a concept or a thought. So I'll leave it at that.
Great, thanks Jasper. All right, Stella, let's come across to you next.
Morning, everyone. So I think I missed the request for today. So I'm just going to talk on what I actually prepared. So sorry for the miscommunication there. So I thought that we were going to talk about all the story after Trevor's brilliant story of his life that he shared with us, all the other stories of in the wisdom's chat. So I was more focused on that, and as well, I didn't attend all the I didn't listen to all the speakers on Thursday. So there was so many thoughts that came to mind if I think of all the stories that I've heard on wisdoms, like resilience, dedication, commitment, positiveness, reinventing yourself, and wisdom, and a lot more. But I think what a thread that I saw through all the stories is the different seasons in one's life, that there isn't one single person that experienced only one season. And that, you know, no matter how bad the winter is, the summer will always come as well, you know. And then another thing that I was thinking of is choices. There's you always, and I've always said to my children, you know what, you always got a choice, but sometimes life happens where it wasn't your choice, and then you've got a choice again. So sometimes life deals you certain things that wasn't your choice to be in that situation. I'm thinking of the stories where we heard about abusive parents. A child was born with a disability, the death of a child, the death of a parent, or a divorce. And what stood out for me on all the stories is that the choice with these things that happen to one in your life, where there's no, where the choice wasn't your choice, it was a choice that was made by someone else or circumstances, that everybody made a choice to carry on and to not have a victim mentality. I think there is, I speak for myself as well, where one goes, sometimes you go through phases after a traumatic experience or difficult situation, and you deal with, it's a process through which you go through. And what stood out for me is the way that people reacted towards these situations in their lives and these seasons that they were in their lives. I'm thinking of Mpumelelo and Umpo and so many others, and just how they did not go and lie down. You know, they got up and went on and decided, no, this is not what life is supposed to be, and just carry on with life and look out for the season that is ahead, and to know that after a winter there is a summer again. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Stella. Yeah, and I think you know, whether it was the speakers from Thursday or whether it's been the stories on this forum, we look for the learnings all the time. So that was a nice little reflection back on where we've come from with Wisdom's chat so far. So thank you for that. Right, Donovan, let's come across to you next. Donovan, are you with us? Okay, seems like we're struggling to connect with Donovan. So Ed, yeah, Donovan, are you there? No, saw him unmute and then muted again, so I'm not too sure what's happening there. So Ed, yeah, let's come across to you in the meantime.
Thank you. Yeah, I missed Michael Jackson's talk, and I'm going to try and catch up this week on it. But I did wonder, when he talked about the consciousness cycle, did he mention going from unconscious competence to unconscious incompetence? Because it's very easy to do that. I did catch Sally's talk, which again blew me away. I thought it was brilliant. And interestingly enough, on Sunday, I went for a walk with a friend, and she suffers from Asperger's, which went undiagnosed until she was 25. And she was also a victim of sexual violence. And she knows Sally, and well, knows of her, not knows her personally. But my friend has still got to relinquish stuff. So what Sally was talking about, that relinquish bucket, was very powerful, I think, because my friend is being held back by all those things that Sally told us we should relinquish. So that was very powerful for me. And also I loved her KPIs, her weekly KPIs, and the fact that, you know, we should always say we're good, not that we're rubbish. So Sally was really good. I caught Doyle's talk. I got exhausted having to climb mountains and fly about the place and have my flight plans and land 300 miles away from Johannesburg. But I think it's interesting. Most of the deaths on Everest, and there are lots, all happen on the descent. So planning the descent is equally as important as planning the climb. So I loved his talk, and Patrick's talk just blew me away, and his I've lost my thread for a minute. I took a photograph of one of his slides, and it was reconstructing our economic mindset and the various things he had there. And I think if we can do what he says about reconstructing that mindset, wow, how powerful things would be if we could do that. But what really interested me about his talk was he was talking about people not being lazy, not being idle. And I wonder how we cope with that, because a lot of people seem to think they're entitled without doing anything. So that was really interesting. And then Oscar at the end just blew me away, absolutely blew me away. And I think it was about never giving up. I mean, I think he was the oldest person to win a world championships, because he just believed he could do it. And what a powerful message. And then when he gets cancer, the guy just doesn't lie down, which is kind of a strange thing to say because he had to sleep standing up. He just hits it full on. And he was so open and honest about it. And I thought that was a great talk to end the whole day with. But there's so much stuff in there, and I want to go back and look at some of the other ones that it's going to take a long time to pull all the threads out of it. But an interesting thing that came through on Sally's talk, on I think Doyle's talk, and on Patrick's talk was about integrity. So maybe that's something we can sort of think, what is integrity? But yeah, fantastic job, and well done you guys for sort of putting it together and sitting there for 11 hours. It was bad enough just hopping in from time to time. But yeah, I loved it.
Great, thanks, Ed. Yeah, it was an interesting day for sure. So let's try and get back to Donovan. I see he's popped a message in the chat box in case he does get cut off. But Donovan, if you want to try again, we can see if that we can get you online. Okay. Well, yeah. So I'm sure you can read his comments, everybody. So he was surprised to see that Trevor can count below on 30. That's Trevor Nell. We know Trevor Carty can count beyond 30 because you know, he's a financial man, and I'm waiting for his 30th marriage, but I'm not too sure whether that's going to happen in this lifetime. But so Trevor Carty, let's get across to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ivan. Again, always nice to see you walking on the weekend while I run past you. So that's when I count to 30 plus. You know, it's what people miss by not being involved in this wisdoms thing. Didn't matter which session that I caught. Every one of them had something that either challenged me or made me think out the box or gave me some inspiration. But I'm going to start with the two Boetas. You know, Roelof was lekker, but I got to tell you what I got from Francois in terms of where we are as a country and what the potential is, was just massive. I encourage you to go and have a look at the numbers again, because if we can do what Patrick says and rebuild an economy and start with the economy of the household, and focus on the agricultural sector, which is what Francois was showing is such a massive driver in this country. I think that's huge. Then Doyle, he challenged me out of my socks. I downloaded some of his material, and I took his scorecard for one of our businesses. And talk about epic fail, Ed. This was the bottom of the triangle, and the triangle should actually be inverted like that, because it was a slippery slope down to the something beyond the base camp. So there's some really good stuff there, which I'm going to take into my businesses today. And then just the diversity of speakers. Sally was unbelievable. Ed, I just loved your story, and I actually sent it off to a family member of mine in Canada. So the world is a small place, and it would be so cool if we could get the word out there to what you guys are doing to more people, so that more people could get the benefit of being challenged, of actually putting some meaningful thought time into these public holidays. So yeah, well done, guys. It really was well worth some time on my butt, not in front of Netflix and not in front of Showmax. So I think you should be offering wisdoms to the networks, and it should be right up there as a click on, like Netflix and like Showmax.
Fantastic. Thanks, Trevor. I like that idea. Definitely like that idea. So yeah, let's see if we can become a channel. Why not? Okay, so I think I'm going to go to Trevor Nell next, because I know Cecile was out and about on Thursday, so she can sum it up what she's heard from us just now. But let's go to Trevor.
Okay, I'm just going to share something because my memory is not great. We're going to have to, let's just see what I can get here. Just one moment. Can you see that?
Yeah, it's up now.
Okay, good. So what I had to do justice to this was to go back, because one of the things that stood out for me is I've always thought that a 20 to 30-minute presentation, you cannot put across more than 1, 2, or 3 points. And that's purely, again, Donovan, because I struggled to count past 3. And I think the average number of points that went across here was somewhere between 30 to 100 per presentation. It was just phenomenal. So there is no way that I could remember all the points that went across. So over the weekend, I went back again and tried to actually pick up the thread of each one of the individuals. And I started off with the 3 points at the top there, that there seemed to be a constant point about humanness and mindset, which I found extremely strange. I honestly thought people would come back to what is it that we can do together to actually stop all this negativity and all of the pilfering of our funds, etc. So it was interesting to see the strong emphasis between humanness and mindset. The messages that came across for me almost through everybody was to celebrate your uniqueness, celebrate your difference. Michael Jackson kicked that off. What I took away from this thing was that everyone was talking about, to change your reality, you have to change your focus, change your perception. So that seemed to be a constant message coming across. And then I did some extracts of what I thought each brought across. And listen, there was far too much content in each one of them. So Michael Jackson, for me, the point that I took across from that is that most of us focus on the dark tunnel of negativity, which he called the illusion surrounding them. And what he said out of there was, you got to focus on the light, focus on the good stuff. I loved it when he said, simplify, smarten up, and specialize. And I have a difference of opinion on the last one on specialize, and that's because I'm a generalist. But of course, there are going to be things that we can focus on and that we can work on. Sally Anderson, for me, man, that content wasn't just 100 points. I think there were 1,000 points in there. There's stuff there that Sally has got that, man, what she's forgotten, we want to learn. So what came across to me on that was transformation can happen in an instant. I loved it when she said the biggest addiction on the planet is dissatisfaction. And she also brought up simplicity. Keep things simple. Trust your intuition. Be a 10. That tied into Oscar. And ludicrousy. Just get out there and do things, take action. Roelof Botha for me, and yes, I forgot about Francois Botha. I skipped straight to Roelof because I was entranced with this guy. He foresees spectacular growth for South Africa over the next 5 years. I feel that is counterintuitive compared to all the other messages coming across in general from business media. And I said to myself, these are great facts. I've got to go out there and I've got to check them and start taking some action based on it, on what he brought across. Doyle Bueller for me, it was about take action now. Go digital. Have you got the teams in place? Have you got the tools? Have you got the tactics? That's what I took out of there. But again, over 100 quality points there. Patrick Kawana, his for me was walk the talk. I actually like the direction of African economics and down the line of Ubuntu. It's an overplayed thing and it ties into humanness and mindset. But I think there's, in the way that he put it across is, the thought to me is, can this be a counterintuitive antidote or a counter to the perceived ills of democracy, or capitalism versus socialism, or communism? These are things that can be thought of. And then I had a look at what is going on in the renaissance of individuals in Africa. And there's this African economics thing might be something that we can really work on. And then Edward Chapman, I went through that one just once, twice, or 3 times. I love the stories hitting the wall. The only one who got me out from under the wall was me. He said, it's about my mindset, meaning everybody's mindset. And he actually said, you're actually lucky to experience COVID-19 or hardship, because that makes you actually focus on not the tunnel, but the actual light. Again, that tied into Michael. I loved his insight on accounting and the economy, and that is a soothing storyteller. And I actually want to wrestle with him because I think there are a couple of points of disagreement. He's an accountant. I'm the guy at the other end who needed to have the accountant manipulate the figures as the way that I wanted. And I think we can have an interesting discussion on that. Tony Sham, he expects a positive bounce back of the economy. He agreed totally with Roelof Botha. And for me, Tony was very interesting because for me, he personified what I think is going through most guys like myself of my age group, who are sitting back there and not getting into the technology. And it's all about back to basics, especially marketing, but then how to use a Doyle Bueller and his digital tactics behind old-fashioned marketing nous. Morris Ruddick, for me, his talk was about Jewish wisdom. So what stood out there was he felt it was a 3-pronged approach of God-centered entrepreneurial or community. I think he also mentioned that it was linked to spiritual economics community. And I thought there was a great tie between him and Sally Anderson. Kubeshini Governor, man, she came across extremely this humanness, and you could interpret that this was someone who was rethinking why she is tired and the need for everyone to re-energize. And then Oscar, of course, for me, linked to Sally and the 10 mindset, be a 10. And Ed was quite right. He's all about winning, totally committed to beating the odds. But again, what really stood out for me was when he thought about his family and he talked about how they supported him and he completely choked up and couldn't talk. it just shows you, you can be this top champion, full on, but the emotions that are inside about where you are and the things that confront you, people as high as they are in these winning stakes can be taken down. The emotions can get, it can get you down. That stood out for me, and I suppose that linked to the humanness, which I absolutely hate. I want to get into show me the money. So I thought those were some things, and I'm going to have to listen to these over and over again to actually extract key points that I want to put into action. Oh, by the way, if I can turn around and say, what this said to me is that I'm no longer working from now. I think I'm retiring again. And I'm getting rid of all the distractions, the tunnels, the illusions in my life. That's why I'm sitting here, Trevor Carty. Just call me when you want that next beer, because we can have a chat there. I want to be a Trevor Carty.
Thanks, Trevor. Do you want to maybe take your screen down if you're done with that? But yeah, great summary across all of those. So, Cecile, I know you were out and about, but if you maybe just want to add your thoughts in on what you've heard so far.
Yeah, yes, like I was away since last Wednesday, so with not my computer. Oh, sorry, someone's competing with me. I was away last week. Can you hear me? Because I am unmuted. Trevor, just go thumbs up. Can you hear me? Okay, so I was away last week, so I'm so curious about all the stuff that you're talking about. Most of all about Ed's. I've already asked for Ed's talk. I understand it was recorded before the time. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of stuff that one can learn some things about. I just want to comment something. I did get a chance last night to listen to Trevor Carty's story. It was hilarious. And yeah, Trevor, let me just see if I can see Trevor. Trevor, my husband's also been with Liberty for 30 years. And he's also been on your journey to Oudtshoorn and all that kind of stuff. And he knows your dad, John. So yeah, so Sven was in a down mood yesterday. So I said, you need to listen to this. So I listened to your story with him the second time, and it just so uplifted him. It was just fantastic. And yeah, so that's what I want to say. So I would love to get the recordings of all the stuff if it's possible, and then I'll listen to it in my time. Yeah, so it's nice to be back with you guys again.
Right, thanks, Cecilia. And as I popped in the chat box, I've put all the recordings up onto the YouTube channel, and the link is there in the chat box. And the next little while, I'll actually link in the archive section into the Virtual Trade Fair Global website archive section. So you'll be able to access them there if you can't find the YouTube channel, but you should be able to find both without too much difficulty. So yeah, I think definitely worth review all of them. And I think, most of it has been said, but the one thing that right at the end that really stood out for me was Oscar's practice makes permanent, not practice makes perfect. And I think, that was a very different way of looking at things. What are you practicing on a regular basis? Because whatever it is, you're going to make it permanent, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. So practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, it makes permanent. So always got to ask yourself the question, why? Why am I doing this? How am I doing it? And what am I doing it for? Because if I keep on doing it the way I'm doing it, it's going to become a permanent fixture in my life. If it's good, that's great. If it's not good, well, maybe that's not so great. So yeah, I think that sort of encapsulated the day for me in many ways, was just that simple statement. And I think, the theme, as everyone said, pretty much ran in some ways through all the talks, and connected it. I think, Ed, you were the only one who really connected to rebuilding a shattered economy, and so thank you for that. I don't think anybody truly mentioned it in their talks, although elements of their chats were definitely on theme. But No one specifically referred to the theme the way you did and tied it in. So I really like that as well. And yeah, you know, you've turned us all into castle drinkers. You know, shame on you, Ed, really. But that was now Trevor Coddy's shaking his head. He's going to stick to his black label. But anyway, whatever it is, if it's cold and you enjoy it, it doesn't matter whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. It's a good one. So yeah, that's those are just my brief thoughts. So you know, obviously, been spending a lot of time, you know, getting all those things together and up onto the net, and so I'll have to spend a bit more time myself going back and reviewing when I get a bit of downtime. I think at the moment it's all been about the uploading and the getting all those things sorted out. So Lee, that's me. Back to you.
Thanks, everyone. I'd really like to take up the challenge of the theme of the virtual trade fair, rebuilding a shattered economy. What would your 1, 2, 3 things be? And Ed, I know you addressed it in your talk, but I'm wondering if you could even condense it, you know, kind of summarize what are the core elements of the 1, 2, 3 things that we can do to rebuild our shattered economy. And now I'm talking to Ed because he's already done the preparation in his talk, but for each one of us to think, and I take it as a challenge, is what would I do? Well, I mean, obviously there's what you do personally, and that's going to play a role. How does that then multiply so that it is not just in your small corner, but is expanding to the wider economy? And so, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The 1, 2, 3 things that we can do to rebuild a shattered economy. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Great, thanks, Lee. Okay, folks, so I think that's it for the morning. So 1, 2, 3, off you go, and have a great day. And we'll see you in the morning. Go well. Cheers.